Okay, guys. So, hello, welcome all. Um, Today I wanted to talk a little bit about prison systems. Yeah. Um, let's start with a little bit of a disclaimer. Never been to prison. Don't particularly want to go, but I've known plenty of people who have been, have family in prison. Um, I've heard a lot of stories about the prison system, right? And pulled up some statistics. I don't know how accurate these are. These are all from Google, right? So take this with a grain of salt, right? And I'm always open to discussing the nuances of these things because these are all pretty cut and dry statistics. I'm sure there's a lot more variables that go into this that I don't understand, but I'm more than willing to talk about them and try to understand them and try to get a better idea and understanding what's actually going on, right? Um, so one thing I learned today actually, about 40 states have pay to stay programs. And if I'm not mistaken, from what I was reading, the pay to stay programs don't make you pay the full fee, right? It's just a partial um, fee, which it is what it is, right? And then, I mean, it is what it is. But I'm trying to look at this objectively, right? Like prisons have to make money, I guess. They have to pay they have to pay their security guards, prison guards, right? They have to keep the lights on, right? But for me, it's a question of you could take these numbers and, or should I say, you could take more accurate numbers than these and do the math per prison and see how much money they're actually making off of people, right? Um, and another thing to throw in there is, if I'm not mistaken, when you're in prison, I'm not sure if this is for everybody, but some people can get jobs and gain money, like earn money, gain money, earn money, right? And so it's not like when you're in prison you don't have any options. And again, I'm not sure if this depends on the severity of your crime, where you're in prison, like what county you're in, what state you're in, what prison you're sent to, right? You always hear about, oh, that prison is worse, right? So I'm guessing different prisons are different, right? Um, According to Avera Institute and the Bureau of Justice Statistics, it's about 33,000 to 47,000 per year for one prisoner in jail. Now, I am curious about the differences between jail and prison. I didn't really see too much. Oh. Actually, it's at the bottom. My bad. I did see something. So it looks like, depending on where you go, it's roughly more expensive to keep them in jail. I always hear jail's nicer. Anyway, all right. So, how do prisons make money, right? Well, first they have commissary, right? They have funding coming in from the government. Uh, I'm not sure how that funding works, if it's per month, per size of unit, or if it's per inmate, right? So that could add a lot of different variables. Um, so I'm trying to think of any other ways they make money. Funding from the government, commissary, and then I guess work. Um, if there's still prisons where they manufacture goods, they can get the sale of the goods they manufacture, right? Of course, I'm not sure if those still exist, but I know they used to be a thing, right? So jails are making money, right? And they're costing the taxpayers quite a bit of money, right? And we have a lot of people going through the system and coming out broken, right? Like there's a saying, crime university, right? We all know what that means. They're talking about prison, right? It's where you go to learn the most about crime, right? And it shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be. It should be where rehabilitation takes place, right? And to me, the money is one aspect, right? That's a whole different topic, right? Because then it gets into motivations of greed, right? I'm more concerned about the humane aspect of what is the goal of prison? Is it to rehabilitate people, or is it a system to make money and keep people coming back? Right? Because that's what it seems to be. From my experience, it seems to be a system to keep people coming back and to make money, right? Um, and you see here, public versus private prisons, different funding, right? Public prisons funded by state and federal taxes, run by the government. Private prisons funded by the government contracts and run by private companies, right? And those federal contracts, those government contracts are, if I'm not mistaken, would that not be still taxpayer money? I might be wrong with that, but just a question. Um, as average cost of inmate, yeah, we already went over that. Okay, again, is the point rehabilitation, and how does the current prison system achieve this goal? I know I didn't put the how down, but how does it? Like, if you have any experience in prison, I want to ask you a question. Did you feel like prison was helping you move away from the destructive path that got you where you were to get there in the first place, right? Essentially, a whole 180 in the thought process and the decision making that got you in prison in the first place, right? Does it achieve that, or does it achieve a sense of how to get away with it next time, right? And if it does achieve a 180 for you, I would love to hear how and what tools did you get to help, right? This is where I go little bit a little bit weird. So, like, possible alternatives, right? Okay, so there's so many possible alternatives with technology, right? But this is just one that I thought about, right? If we get, and when it comes to money, this would be way down the road whenever chips are way cheaper and this technology is way cheaper, way more affordable. But let's say potentially down the road, we could put Neuralink in somebody and have an AI chip monitoring their environment and judging whether their actions based on their previous actions were going to have a positive or a negative net effect for those around them and themselves, right? So essentially, an AI monitoring what an individual is doing in their head that they cannot take out, right? Now, you might say this is very invasive. It is. It really is invasive. Um, and then you might ask, how would you enforce this, right? Well, there's a couple of different ways to enforce this, right? I'm not sure the extent of how Neuralink works, but if I had to guess, you could affect the motor control function of the brain, right? Neurons are electrical signals, correct? If we can affect the motor control function, you could have essentially a hardwire access to motor functions, right? And I'm sure this is all down the road, but just a thought, right? Because this is we're talking about down the road, right? And then another more immediate thing we could do would be alerting the authorities. If let's say they have a restraining order, right? And they're known for breaking the restraining orders and doing horrific things, right? It could alert the authorities when they're within X amount of distance of that person, right? I'm sure there's a bunch of different implementation ideas. If you have any ideas, I would love to hear it. I think getting ideas on this would be very cool. Again, this is way down the road, and it's not cost effective right now. It would not be cost effective, but it would be an interesting thing because I think the outcome would be you don't have to have prisons as much. You would still have to have prisons for certain people, no doubt, but I think the outcome would be you would have to have less prisons. And I might be wrong, and I would love to hear how I'm wrong if I am. I hope you guys have a lovely day or evening wherever you are. This is my first video. I'm like really just trying to go into some ideas I've had. Would love to hear counter thoughts, arguments, debates on thoughts or ideas I've had or shared. Hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and I will catch you.